Don't blink, it's your boy Ink. Welcome to another video. Why am I always clapping my hand? You deserve an applaud, I guess. My neighbor hates me. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, but we're here for a talk. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we're eating meat pie. Thanks, Mom, for bringing me this meat pie over 3 weeks ago, so we need to finish it, right? But today's a very cool subject. As I said, in my nature corn, I was let out of work earlier, right? But I'm a good boy. Or I'm the best boy. Possibly more the best boy situation. This is amazing. Even after 3 weeks, we have Orange Crush for drinks. I know what you're saying. You think Orange Crush at 6 a.m., bro? What if I meant 6 p.m.? What if I meant 6 p.m.? Oh, that's okay then. Priorities, guys. Priorities. I love Orange Crush. But, all of this to say, me leaving early meant fun, meant happiness, meant joy, and dozen other synonyms of happiness. But the reality is, I got left early, and told this because I did a good job. Validation, which I always thought was a figment of something we thought was necessary but not necessary. For example, thinking, oh, I need to make a certain salary to be happy. No. Any salary you're gonna do, as long as you spend accordingly, you're gonna be happy. If you're making minimum salary, you get less bargaining power that somebody who makes a lot more. And that's logic. I have to write down. That's so good. That's so good, bro. Not to toot my own horn, but hey. We almost had a huge incident. I'm not wearing pants, and I almost flashed my zong to you lovely peoples. I don't have OnlyFans, so I'm not gonna schlack my slong or my zong everywhere. So let's write down the idea of replacing the idea of I wrote off with an H. Okay, cool. French dude, obviously. My apologies. Disgusting. Of I need to make X to be happy with I make Y, so I get to spend Z, W, X, Y, Z, Z, so I get to spend Z, and has to make me happy. Right? That whole concept of I need something to be happy or I need something to feel fulfilled, I thought was non-existent. I thought was a figment of people's imagination. Like, I'm seeing, I have a friend, right? Let's call her Y. No, I already used Y today. Let's call her B. Then she's gonna say, oh, you call me a bitch. No, I didn't call you a bitch. I call you a bee. Like a bee. Like a honeybee. She's always throwing herself in this relationship with the first dude she meets. And it comes from, this is good, but this is very salty. It comes from a need of fulfillment. Emotional fulfillment, right? And I was like, that's not healthy. That is not healthy at all. But for her, that's what she needs. That's what she needs. In a perfect world, I could tell you, hey, do whatever you need to do. But that feeling of I need something is more than the addiction than the real need. Then you make a mistake. For example, a gambling addict. I need to gamble to be happy. No, You need to gamble because you crave it. You're addicted to it. Your addiction warped your addiction warped your sense of need, right? And that's not cool. Because again, thinking or believing that you need something is actually the root of everything. And go back to the girl. You think that she needs to be in a relationship, and she doesn't. As long as she believes it. It's a real need. Again, if she understood that the love that she's seeking should be self-given. And just say, I understand the feeling of her not wanting that. Because at the same time, when you do a lot of self-loving, you mistake that self-love for perfection. You love yourself so much that there's nothing wrong with you. And I did that. I did that a lot. I did that as a lonely guy that said, hey, I love myself. And the reality is I love myself because nobody was telling me I was doing wrong. And if nobody's telling me I'm doing wrong, then I must be doing something right. But the reality is nobody was talking to me. By nobody talking to me, the sense of self-fulfillment, the sense of self-righteousness was born of a need of conflict. See? Conflict is the root of change. Self-isolation equal self-righteous. Adversity equal improvement. And then you realize that improvements aren't necessarily improvements. When somebody thinks you that improvement depend on perception. Sorry, I'm writing a lot. I have a lot in my mind today. Very, very creative this morning. Improvement depends, but I'll be my best to do. Listening to Thief a day before release. West Coast, what's up? Improvement depends on perception. So if somebody, right, it tells you, oh, well, you should be more, you should be less artistic. You should be more factual, right? But in reality, the reason they're saying that is because themselves, they're not artistic, right? And that also comes from a need of having realistic values. Somebody that hasn't been artistic his entire life can understand art, but won't get to the point of saying, oh, everything in my life needs to be art. So, somebody that does art, right? For example, film a video on YouTube, understand the value of other people creating videos. Somebody DM me actually and said, left a comment and said, oh, now that you're hardworking. The reality is, it doesn't seem like artwork. And it doesn't feel like artwork until you realize how much you've done. So, I'm creating a gaming channel, right? And I see how many videos I filmed. And right now I'm filming this video. It doesn't seem like work. Over here I'm working, but it's always working. It feels a lot because when I see how much I've done, or when I realize how much I did, I'm not that. I just have so much food in the fridge. I think you finished. Stop. But all in all, see, that person, whenever I have understanding the hard work that goes in there, or the feeling of creation, doesn't understand necessarily that, oh, creating something means something else. And for them, more about physical work, more about working, like for example at work. A lot of people at work are like, oh, if you're making those videos, it's not going to work because you have a job. But the reality is, you're equating this with a job because you're getting a salary. And you're equating this with a job because I don't get salary. Understand? So it's very, very different. And again, it comes from a system of reward versus not reward. Work equal salary. And videos doesn't equate salary. So loads of people understand. See, and that's a fact. Like, if I was making a salary, and it's so crazy because I work in a place where I know for a fact that if I was making a salary out of the video, for example, if I was making $1,000 a month, which again is a lot for a lot of people, but I'm making more than that with my salary. But even if I was making, let's say, $500 a month, but 500 is more reasonable. If I was making 500, they still would say, "Hey, buy something with that. Buy something with that." And again, it's coming from a core system of belief. And I make money, I need to spend it. Otherwise, what am I getting money for? Well, the reality is we're raised like cattle. We're raised to believe that every single thing that we do should equate money, and every single money that we get should equate spending. Right? And that's insane. Because that's insane. Cattle, we believe every work equal money, and money need to be spent. And it's true. We're told that oh, you make money, right? Teach about work, but not saving. We're taught that, hey, even my father to an extent, even my mom a bit less, but my father was very afraid about my future. I think my father is more of a, like I said, the guy at work. He's more factual. My father's the same way. My father, he always told me, I don't care how you work. I don't care what job you do, but I need you to work. I have to hurry up eating. Now 30 minutes. Which seems like a lot, but isn't. So, my father the same way. I don't care what job you do, but you have to work. And the majority of people think that, okay, well, if I can, if I get a salary every week, doesn't matter how much I spend this week, right? I'll be okay. And my father believes that by having a job, I will get money. So the reality is, the dough is not that cook. That's why I almost puked. But you, this system believes that my father, sorry, I'm going A to Z because I got so much in my head. Today is one of those creative mornings and I got ADHD, so the creative process isn't clear. But all of this to say, like, my father truly believes that I need a job. And the reality is, my father thinks that while having money every week, or getting money every week, is a necessity. But in reality, if you're not spending, you don't need to make money. It's good to have money just in case you need to pay your rent, you need your car fixed. That's true. But in reality, I'm not sure you're really spending. So, I'm going to guess exactly what's going on. You go to school, you go to work, and while you go to school, when you come back, you chill with your friend, you're on your phone. Who pay for the phone? Mom and dad, right? If you're working and you cannot make $100 a month to pay your phone, then you have a problem. My apologies. And it's insane because if you look at my mom also spends, like, she just bought me a air fryer because she thinks it's good. I told her I'm not going to be using it a lot, but she didn't care. She wanted me to have it. And my mom, it's insane because when you look at my mom and my father, they're really similar. My father is like, oh, you need to make money to survive, and my mom is more like, well, you need things to survive, right? And it's the same exact concept. My father wants to help me get a job. My mom wants to help me by making sure that everything is okay, right? And it's the same core process or initial thought. It's the same exact initial thought, but it's not the exact same concept. My mom, she believed that if I get a fish every day, I don't need to learn to fish. And my father needs to, he needs that he thinks that I need to learn to fish to understand the concept. And both of them are right. If you, there's a old proverb that says, teach a man how to fish, he will give a man the fish every day, he'll eat it. Teach a man how to fish, then you won't ever need to learn to fish. You will never need a fish again. But the reality is, even if you're the best fisherman, there's a day you're gonna come home empty-handed. Not every day is a fish that's gonna come. Fishing, yeah, it's about skill, it's about technique, but it's also about luck. If you go into a lake where there's no fish, no matter how good you are, there's not gonna be a fish on your rod, right? And the core belief is, my mom, she's also, oh, I'm gonna give you a fish every day. But what if a day she cannot afford a fish? What if a day there's no fish to be bought? Right? In both theory are wrong. The real theory is, okay, well, I'll get a fish every couple of days. I know I know what I make. I know the amount of things I'm receiving and how much I need to. So, for example, this is 3 weeks old, not because it's not good, because I got so much food. I got so much everything that I don't need. I don't need day by day to be given food. I don't need day by day to eat food. For example, yesterday we had a meal at work and it wasn't planned. And I was like, okay, well, since we had a meal at work, I'm not gonna need to eat the night, right? And I eat only one meal per day. But just understanding that by doing this, my basic need of eating, drinking are good. And by having your basic needed, you don't really need that job. That job serves as a salary to fulfill those basic needs. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. If you have a job to fill your basic need, but your basic needs are already fulfilled, why are you working? Well, you're working to teach you a lesson, right? So working has given me so many lessons, a responsibility, a sense of validation, a fact that I'm doing something good, which are all psychological. Every single thing that I think great. And ask everybody around you. When they're working, the most important is they feel fulfilled. They get enough to feed their family. It's never about them making money, right? And I can understand that somebody is going to brag about, oh, I made this amount of money and I bought this new car. Well, once you bought that new car, when you bought everything that you thought you needed to flex, what's next? What's next? There's this core belief that I need to make a lot, and school teaches you that. School teaches you you need to make money to survive, but they don't teach you how to save. So the basic thinking or understanding of survival is flawed. That's what I'm trying to say. Also to say, for example, to survive, there's a pyramid that exists. A pyramid. So the pyramid is your basic need. Your need for shelter, your need for food, your need for clothes. Then there's a need for a cleanse. There's a need for something to do, entertainment. Then there's different level of that pyramid, and at the top of the pyramid, there's the ultimate need, and that ultimate need is to be happy. So you'll survive even if you're sad. You'll survive, and it's crazy because this is taught in university and college, and that is basic information that you could need. What do I need to survive? If you ask, and that's the craziest thing. That is insane. If you ask people in the streets, if you have 10 person, except for food, what do you need to survive? They're gonna tell you, oh, my phone, right? Someone else is gonna be like, oh, my family, which is super normal. And somebody's gonna say, I need money to survive, right? But not one of them is gonna come to the same agreement, because the first agreement is gonna be food, right? Oh, my alarm clock, coming back. And now I know what you're saying. Oh, Inky, your video started like fucking 20 minutes ago, and the subject was validation, and it's still validation. What I'm trying to say is the fact that I was let go yesterday, again, you could say, "Oh wow, that's so fucking awesome." But it's the fact that I was working hard, and that validation was I thought was not a need. But if you understand that validation, that the feeling of accomplishment, you understand that the work is more than money. And for me, it was so hard to understand because for almost fucking 7, 8 years of this past job, I was believing I need to work because I was raised by thinking I need to work, right? And when I'm saying this, am I saying, oh, you shouldn't work? No, I'm not saying that you shouldn't work. You should do whatever the fuck you want. They say this world is forever, and forever is all that I need. Tipping with Siren. If I'm James Dean, then you're Aubrey Hepburn. Need the promise the sink will be broken. They'll never leave. So you see, I was thinking as a job as a paying salary, and that's so wrong. Because if you think about your job as a paying salary, if you think about your job as something that you have to do, it's hard to enjoy. I have to do the dishwasher. I have to do the dishes every single day. I have to do the laundry every single week. You think I enjoy doing those things? No, it's because they feel like a chore. Work, it feels like a chore, and because it feels like a chore, it's hard to understand. Even as a young kid, you're being taught chores, and it's important to have chores. I didn't have chores as a kid, so there's a lack there. And I'm not saying that my parents are wrong. My parents understood that I was a fucked up kid, and if I had chores, I wouldn't do them, or I would do them so poorly that it didn't matter if I did it or not. And I remember my father wanting me to do the dishes, and I had this girl over, right? And that was actually the day I lost my virginity. Yeah, 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 yeah. Sibyl. And this French girl. Oh man. And that's another lesson. This French girl, right? I was in high school. I was in grade 7, and I spent the entire year chasing her. I spent the entire year trying to get her attention. And then one summer, we did it. And it took me a whole year. When I did it, I understood that I just lost my entire year because, yeah, it was amazing doing it for the first time, but it wasn't worth doing this. And the problem with that is, what I'm saying, I'm totally an asshole for saying this. I'm totally an asshole for saying I chased you for an entire year and then it wasn't worth it. I'm absolutely horrible for saying this. But this directly correlates with what I'm trying to say. And I didn't even notice that it does. I'm going to be working for 4 months just to buy a car because I really want that car. But in reality, every single car is going to take me from point A to point B. Of course, there's going to be cars that's going to be better, right? But if I'm working every single month for a certain goal, when I reach that goal, what's going on? What's next? So again, you're working because you think that I need to eat, I need to drink, I need to have an apartment, right? And then you can go a lot deeper. My kids diaper, my kids school, my kids clothes, right? And then I say, well, I need to enjoy time, so I need to go to the bar, I need to go to do some sport, I need to do to the cinema, the theater, I need to go to the restaurant, right? That's 10 needs that are coming up of my head. All of those needs have one thing in common, and they all cost money. So by understanding that these 10 things are the core of your happiness, you understand that everything that is related to your happiness is related to money. And by everything being related to your money, then you understand that happiness equals money. But money doesn't equal happiness. Money equals a mean to achieve happiness. Bro, this is brilliant. I have to write down. Understanding that thing which makes you happy, because I'm happy, which makes you happy, equate to money. You equate money to happy. But it's just a mean to achieve. Let me blow my nose. Knee. And so was the very first subject of the video. The very first subject of the video is validation. And validation, I thought it was a mean to happiness. And I was such in denial because I thought that it's so hard to explain, but Let me try. I thought that by me being happy, it doesn't matter if people were happy with me. The important was being happy with me and loving myself. And I was so focused on loving myself. I was so focused on the possibility of me being the perfect version to me. So, for example, the perfect version to me and the perfect version for you. So let's take you as example, right? So you like movies. Like you like music. Okay, it's hard. It's easy if I do for myself because I don't want to assume. But yeah, so I like manga. I like gaming. I like making videos, right? And those trees are extremely cheap. Extremely cheap. There's a number of applications that you can find on your phone that are completely free. The number of games that you can find on the gaming, completely free. Fortnite. Fortnite is one of the most popular games. But at the very core of this, if you don't want to buy skin, if you only want, like, for example, you only want to buy the battle pass. The battle pass is 950 V coin. 950 V coin is about $20. So if you're doing $20, you play a lot. So the battle pass is gonna reimburse that, which is what I love with Call of Duty Mobile, which was one of the first mobile game that I played. You could spend money, but as long as you did the mission, you get that money back, or you get enough for the next pass, right? And this is the same thing. So gaming is extremely cheap. Fortnite is one of the most popular game, and it has been for years and years and years. And then you look at it and you say, okay, well, it's kind of free, right? A lot of the game that you want to play are free. Rocket League, another game that is completely free. Let me think about another game that people like. Disney Dreamlight Valley, which is completely free, right? And all of these come at no cost and they are entertaining. If you like making videos, well, you need a phone and a camera. But once you bought that, right, a phone, even if I wasn't making video, I wouldn't have bought. Okay, so let's be completely fucking honest. Okay, let's be fucking honest. I have two phones. You guys know that. I bought the Galaxy Samsung S24 because I fucking love the model. I fucking loved it, right? The reality is I had another phone. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm making videos, I would have not bought this phone. But again, a lot of people at work was like, "Oh, this is super expensive." Yeah, but I don't spend. I don't spend. You're spending on car. You're spending on insurance, and that's all things that you need personally. But do you really need it? Like, for example, there's a lot of guy that comes to work in their car and they could just bicycle through it. And I know what you're saying. Oh yeah, but you need it for family. Yeah, you don't always need it for family. The more you use your car, the more use it gets. The more you use the car, the more gas you intake. The more use it get, the more maintenance is needed. The more gases you need, the more money you put in. And I know this video is about money, but this video is also about the fact that you think that money equates happiness, and the fact that you're spending somewhere needs to mean that you need to make some more money. So, for example, I make $500 a week, right? I spend $500 and back to zero. Oh, I had to buy for gas. I have to make more money because I spend more than I was expected. The reality is, if you make 500 a week, you'll spend 500 doing what you want, and then the rest of the money you're like, holy shit. I know this guy who at work, right? He bought this boat. He bought this motor. He doesn't really need a boat. He likes fishing, but he doesn't need it. And his family, which are 3 kids, him and his wife, they live in a 3.5. They live in a 1-bedroom apartment. And although it's a shitty situation and I feel bad for the guy, it's just poor decision. He just made this poor decision after poor decision, and that's on him. That's his mistake. That's his personal choice. And actually, like, I feel bad for the guy, but bro, you put yourself in the situation, right? And then he says, I need to make more money. No, because if you made more money, you spend more. Don't you understand? Don't fucking understand. The more you make, the more you spend, right? That is the core value of this system. And the more you make, the more you spend, the more you realize, oh, I need this too. So, for example, you go to the theater once every 2 weeks. You love movies, that's your passion. And then you realize that, fuck, I make more money now, so let's go more than once every 2 weeks. I'm done. I'm full. Sorry, Mom. Delicious, but I'm full. I'm completely full. Oof. Ever, you forever is all that I need. And the reality is, yeah. And plus, it's been 3 weeks, so I lost it. Fuck. But yeah, so you equate happiness with And you equate happiness with the fact that you're going to the theater. So you go to the theater every week now. And now you get another raise and you say, you know what? And I can afford to go to the theater 2 times a week. So at the very end, after 5 fucking years of spending money at the theater, you realize that you're making so much that you can go 4 times a week. So then you're making 4 times a week, you go to the theater, you're going every single day after work, you're going to the theater. Then you realize that, fuck, I only have enough for 4 days, there's 5 days in a week. I wish I was making more. But then, after all of those years, right? After all of those years, you make enough to go 5 days. And then you realize that because you waited so long to accomplish those goals, other goals have appeared. I was talking about the guy with the apartment, and that's just one problem. So this guy is gonna wait 10 years to make the salary necessary to buy a 5.5, and a 5.5 is gonna have to be indebted. He's not gonna be able to buy a 5.5. He's gonna have to borrow from the bank. The bank is gonna let him borrow money, and they'll be like, "Well, we'll let you borrow money, but if you borrow money, you'll need to pay us, right?" And that's fair because you're basically lending you something, and you pay back with interest. Those interests you're gonna pay back, and then while you have the house, other needs are gonna appear. Might it be a new car? Might it be some new clothes? Might it be a new TV, right? And then you realize that, holy shit, I'm making more, but I'm paying the bank. And I got some other needs, and at the very end, I have less money in my pocket than I used to. And that's the problem with you. It's not the problem of the bank. It's not the problem of how much you're making. It's the problem of how much you're spending. And I understand. You're gonna tell me, well, Inc, I need to spend to live. And that's a fact. It's not about being cheap. It's about understanding that a lot of things that you need, that you think you need, you don't really need. And a lot of things that you have, you don't really need. But a lot of things that you have, you paid for. The boat, for example, the guy spent 1,700 on a boat, and in the grand scheme of things, 1,700 is not a lot of money. Okay, not a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, you bought that to use it 5 months out of 12, and you realize that, fuck, it might have not have been that money, but that money needed for something, and that money I spent, and that sucks. So I have to go to work. I'm not late, but I have to change. I have to clean the dishes. And know that I love you, that you matter. Very successful days, very successful video. Know that you matter. You're fucking important. Peace.